All right. So with some advanced configurations, we just separated the Ansible playbook part and Kubernetes manifest part separately. And whenever the Ansible playbook is executing, so wherever the path you mentioned, it is getting the information of the Kubernetes object and it is deploying inside the Kubernetes cluster, right? So this is also looks okay, but this is not advanced, right? So for each environment, we have just created a separate manifest for the Kubernetes objects. Let's say with a single deployment file, if you can template it, and whenever you are executing the Ansible playbook against the production namespace, it should create the 3 replicas. But the same manifest file, when you're executing against the development namespace, it should create only 1 replica. With the single deployment file and the single service file, we can utilize for n number of environments. We can achieve that using the Ansible roles concept, and we can use the templates concept as well inside the roles. Let's do that. Let's do one thing. Let's delete all the objects inside the Kubernetes cluster, and then we'll try to create the objects one more time using the Ansible roles concept. So what we have to do, go to the production, and instead of present, make it absent for the deployment as well as the service, and execute the playbook, Ansible-playbook, and then production.yml. Now it is deleting the deployment as well as the service inside the production namespace. Let's do the same thing for the deployment as well. Instead of present, make it absent. And execute the development playbook as well. Ansible-playbook, and then the playbook name is development.yml. All right, this is also deleted. Let's validate kubectl get all -n production. No resources. Similarly for the development namespace as well. No resources found. All right, let's do one thing. We'll try to create Ansible role structure to create the California application. And we'll try to utilize a single development file, single deployment file and single service file. But when we are executing those files against different environments, it should act accordingly, right? To create that structure, let's create a folder. Let's create an Ansible role structure. I hope you guys are already familiar with the Ansible role structure. Let me do mkdir roles. And inside the roles, I'll try to create a role called California application. And inside that role, I will try to create the directories for the California role. So the directories are task is always mandatory, and templates we need in this demonstration, and also var section. Okay, so let's quickly check what we have created. We just created the role structure, Ansible role structure. So here you can see the roles folder is there. Inside the roles folder, California role is there, and tasks directory, templates directory, vars directory. Let's go and create the file inside the tasks directory called main.yml file. So inside this main.yml file, so we need to present the name, create deployment. Which deployment? California deployment. And also next task is we need to create the service for the California deployment. Right, so for this we have to use the k8s module, right? So k8s, and first one is state is present, and then we need to utilize the definition section, and inside this definition, so we have to utilize the lookup option, lookup, and then lookup for the template. So what is the template name? The template name is deployment.yaml.j2. We haven't created this deployment template. We are going to create in a moment, and we need to pipe this output to from YAML. Because in Ansible, we will create templates in the format of Jinja2. But when it comes to the apply part, like when you created the template of deployment object, and you need to convert the Jinja2 format into the YAML format. So that's the reason we are utilizing this from YAML. So this output, it will take the entire file it will take, and it will convert into the YAML structure. Similarly, so we need to create the same section for the service as well. And state is present, and then definition is let me copy paste instead of typing. And instead of deployment, we need to utilize the service.yaml.j2 and create two files inside the templates, touch roles inside the California and inside the templates. And we are creating a file called deployment.yaml.j2. And similarly, we have to create the file for service.yaml.j2. And also we have to create one more file inside the vars directory, touch roles California vars, inside it main.yml file. All right. So let's copy the content of the deployment from the previous manifest. Let's say from the production manifest. And then open this template file inside templates and template.yaml.j2 and paste the content over here. All right. So once you copy pasted, let's save the file. And let's try to open the main.yml file inside the vars directory on the right hand side. All right. So our main goal is to utilize a single deployment file and single service file. And we need to parameterize those values instead of hard coding the namespace and the replicas and the image values. We'll try to parameterize those values, and we'll try to create a variables for that. Okay, let's do one thing. So we need to create a variable for the namespace first. Okay, let me create the variables first, and then we'll try to modify the deployment.yml.j2 file. So for this, California underscore ns namespace. So environment level, I want to create prod. So the namespace is production, right? So for the development, I will utilize the shortcut name for the development is dev. Similarly, California underscore replica count, replica set. If it is a production, create 3. And if it is a development environment, create 1. And similarly, California underscore image is, let me copy paste the image from over here. All right. So let's parameterize this Jinja2 template. So instead of hard coding the production namespace value over here, just remove that and then try to call this California NS variable. And it depends on the environment, right? env. This is it. And also for the replicas as well, just try to parameterize this. And the value of this variable is, sorry, the name of this variable is variable is California underscore RS, and it depends on the env. And then similarly for this image, the value, the name of the variable is California underscore image. And then close this file. And instead of closing, let me open the service.yml file. So inside the service.yml file, let's go back to the previous service.yml manifest and copy the content. And open the Ginger2 file to parameterize it. And this is an empty file, and this is the content of it. So instead of hard coding the namespace of the production, so we are using a value variable called California underscore NS, and it depends on the env. And similarly, the type of the load balancer as well. So for this type of the load balancer, we'll try to create one more variable, California underscore ST, shortcut for service type. If it is a production, try to create a load balancer. If it is development, then try to create a node port. Make sure the spelling is correct. All right, so here we need to call the variable called California underscore ST. And that too, it depends on the environment. Because depending on the environment, we are just creating the service types, right? And then save all the files. Make sure you saved all the files and close it one by one. All right, so open the main file, and we need to create one more file to call this Ansible role in the main directory, touch main.yml. And let me open this file, and we need to specify the host section over here. So the host is run on the local machine, and instead of task, we are calling the roles. So what is the role we have created? California. And then save this file. And when it comes to the execution part, Ansible-playbook, the playbook name is main.yml file, and then I can pass the extra arguments with -e option, and then env is equal to prod. What will happen if I call this env is equal to prod? Let me open the variables on the right hand side. And we just use the variables, and we just parameterize the Kubernetes manifest using the variables, right? So when I call this AML playbook, and it will try to execute the California role, and we just passed an argument called env is equal to prod. So, okay, let me open the deployment on the right hand side. Okay, just try to observe here, guys. So first it will try to execute this California deployment, and it will look for the deployment.yml.ginger2 format. And it will come to this file, and here we just parameterized California underscore NS, and then followed by env. So here env, what we mentioned, prod. So it will go to the variable section, and what is the variable that we have assigned? California underscore NS, and for the prod. So this is the production. This value will pass to this Jinja file, and here it will replace it actually. So instead of namespace this one, it will try to pass the value of this production, and then it will try to create the deployment in the production environment. So similarly, so replicas. So here I just passed California underscore RS replica set, and the environment is production. So as this is a production environment, California underscore RS, it will go to the particular variable and record according to the environment. So for the production environment, it will try to create the 3 pods over there. Similarly, and image also. So for this image, we need to put the double quotes, sorry, curly braces, double curly braces. And it will look for the California image, and this is the California image. So let me try to execute this one, and we'll try to observe what it is going to create. So before executing this, so we'll try to validate in the production environment, is there any resources are there? There are no resources. Then execute the same playbook, Ansible hyphen playbook, and then main.yml hyphen e, env is equal to prod. Sorry, my mistake. I need to pass hyphen. There you go. It just created a deployment and it just created a service inside the production namespace. Let's go and validate. There you go. It just created a 3 replica set, and then the type is the load balancer. And then try to execute the same playbook, Ansible hyphen playbook, and then the playbook name is main.yml file. This time I will try to use env is equal to development. So let's just try to understand. So the same playbook it will call, and the same Jinja file it will call, and when it comes to the placing the exact values, here California underscore NS, now this time is environment is development. So it will go to the California underscore variables. Inside that it will go to the development section and it will get the value of that particular variable. So here the variable value is development, and then it will try to create this deployment inside the development namespace. And when it comes to the replicas, it will go to the California underscore RS variable. And as we just passing the environment variable is development, and it will go to the development section. And based on that, it will try to create the replica set is equal to 1. And then similarly, when it goes to the service part, and we just mentioned the environment variable is development, and it will get the value of this development value, that is node port. For the production, it will try to create the load balancer, and for the development, it will try to create the node port. But we are utilizing the same image for the both production and development. Let's execute this playbook. Playbook is executed, and it created the California deployment as well as the service inside the development namespace. Just validate it. kubectl get all hyphen n development. There you go. It just created only one pod because the replica set count is 1, and it created the node port service. And all together, let's monitor for the production and for the development. Using a single deployment manifest and a single service file, we can parameterize those values instead of hard coding. And when it comes to the different environment, we can play around with it. So when it comes to the production environment, it just created the replica set is equal to 3, and the type of the load balancer, type of the service is load balancer. And when it comes to the development, it just created only the deployment with replica set is equal to 1, and also it created the service type is node port. So this is how you can utilize properly Ansible to deploy the objects inside the Kubernetes cluster depending on your use cases. I hope you enjoyed these classes. Thank you. Please subscribe my channel.